You might be wondering why I'm standing in knee-high grass right now. Well, it's this truck right behind me, the 2022 Nissan Frontier, which is the first new Frontier we've had in 17 years. So let's get into it. Let's get into some powertrain details. Right off the top, we have a new 3.8 liter V6. Now, this engine is very, very new, and it was developed for this truck. However, I will add that Nissan actually tossed it into the last model year of the previous generation Frontier. So it is very new, but technically it's not all new. That said, it is the most powerful V6 in its class at 310 horsepower and 281 pound-feet of torque. That means that it is just a little bit more than the Colorado. However, if we're talking torque numbers, the Ford Ranger still beats it there. And I also think the Ford Ranger beats it for actual acceleration and the feel of thrust that you get from it. This Frontier has decent power up top, but it feels a little gutless down low and in the mid-range, unfortunately. You do have to get the revs up when you're driving on mountain roads like the ones we are here in Utah. I should mention that we're at 6,600 feet elevation. That means we're losing about 60 horsepower versus the 310 this comes with at sea level. That said, I think it pairs nicely with this 9-speed. If you're just driving around town, very smooth shifting, it does the job really well. As soon as you ask for a downshift or get on the throttle a little much, it's a bit slow to respond, but it's not the end of the world because, again, this is a mid-sized truck, not a performance car. Now, let's move on to what I think is probably the most important part of this truck, the design. I think that this is one of the best mid-size trucks in the segment when you're looking at it from the outside. It bears a bit of a resemblance to the Toyota Tacoma right now, which is probably no mistake. It has the big front end, upright grille, some really good looking LEDs in front and back. It's a great, modern, tough, rugged design, which seems to be what buyers want in this segment, and I'm going to agree with them. I think this thing looks amazing, especially in my tester's green paint. Now, specifically, the one I'm testing is the Pro 4X, which I think does look a little better than the other trims, but I was driving an SV trim earlier today, and there's nothing sad or bad about the way that truck looks either. You'll see a bunch of both on the road, and I think the Nissan killed it either way you go. Since this is an all-new pickup, you're probably expecting it to be completely new underneath. And that's partly the case, because Nissan did in fact pull the previous frame and previous chassis for use in this truck. However, it's done a lot to improve matters. There's some new urethane jounce dampers in the back. They've added a new stabilizer bar in the back to improve handling and ride. And overall, they made a lot of modifications to the frame to make this feel more refined on the road, more comfortable, and more capable. In driving it, it doesn't feel like a 20-year-old design at all. This rides and drives like a new midsize pickup. You're really not giving much up versus, say, a Ranger or a Colorado or even a Tacoma. Honestly, this is a little more comfortable than the Tacoma and its equivalent TRD off-road trim. I'll also mention that this Pro 4X has Bilstein dampers on it, which help off-road. They're specifically tuned for this version's application. On some wavy roads, maybe some poorer pavement, you will get some feedback into the cabin, but it hasn't been too harsh to actually cause any horrible discomfort. I still think that this is an acceptable pickup to drive long distances. So, as we're sitting here, I'll take a look around at the interior, and what I'm seeing is You know, it's not a luxurious cabin, that's for sure, but it does stand up well to the competition. You have all of the tech items and driver assistance systems that you might expect and or want from a 2022 model year midsize pickup. The one I have has the optional 9-inch infotainment screen, of course Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. They are wired, not wireless. You have a big 7-inch screen in the cluster in between the TAC and the Speedo. Those actually have red outlines on them that look pretty neat. There's a little bit of character there. And the seats that I'm sitting on here too, these are Nissan zero gravity seats. And I've spent, I'd say, about 3-ish, maybe close to 4 hours in the saddle throughout today, off-road, on-road, and they're super comfortable. I have not had a single complaint all day about the support that they've given me. Just like pretty much any other Nissan product with the zero gravity seats, these are pretty spectacular. As for the actual visibility and usability of this interior, with that big long hood that makes the design so nice, you can still see out just fine. You know, it's not a super compromised look out. You know, you have some minor hood bulging there that makes it look pretty aggressive. Overall, pretty nice there. My blind spot's easy to see out of. Out the back, also easy to see out of. And unlike the Tacoma, which can give tall people some headaches, there's a lot of headroom here. And I think that somebody a good deal taller than me, 5'10", would fit in here no problem. Moving along to the back seat, that is also fairly spacious. This truck is still, you know, relatively small. It's smaller than other midsize pickups actually, but still, you can still sit back there as an adult. You can be comfortable, 5 seats, and it's so long as you have the crew cab, that is. We actually sat in a king cab earlier today, which basically has some jump seats that might not even be acceptable for a small child. And as we're talking usability and utility, the tailgate, it's actually hydraulically damped, and it's one of the easiest tailgates to put up and down I've ever used. On top of that, Nissan was nice enough to give you a little more space. They increased the height by 1.7 inches. However, they still made it easy to reach in and out. I'm 5'10", I can reach in and out easier. My video producer is 5'7", can still easily reach the bottom of the bed from the side of the truck. So that means it's super easy to pull gear, whatever you want, out of that bed. And while we're talking about the bed, it does have some nice usability things to it. You have some tie downs, and Nissan includes a 120 volt outlet in case you want to plug something in. Say you're tailgating, boom, TV, mini fridge, what have you. So we've made it to the off-road portion of the drive in the Frontier. Nissan has set us up on a pretty tight and technical hilly off-road course where the Pro 4X that I'm in is definitely in its element. This is the kind of the trim of the Frontier you want if you're going to be doing any driving like this. The giant skid plates underneath, front bumper pretty much delete, big Bilstein dampers, and 4-wheel drive, low, plus an electronic rear differential locker. So far, it's been treating this as though it's pretty easy, hasn't struggled at all. Pretty enjoyable out here. I'm liking how compact it is along these trails. It's a really nice thing you get with mid-size pickups. I always like that, you know, you can see exactly where the front end is, both the front corners of the truck, so you can place it on a trail. This is a pretty narrow one, and the Frontier has these 2 nice bulges on either side that you can see close to the corner of the truck, so it hasn't been that difficult placing it. Plus, if you're going on the slower side of things, it has some pretty neat cameras in the infotainment system that allow you to see directly in front of it and to the sides in case you're facing some extra rocky embankments that you don't want to blister the side of your pickup on. Right now I'm enjoying the Pro 4X's downhill descent control. We're on a pretty steep grade here, and the truck is completely controlling the descent. I'm going probably about 1-ish, perhaps 2 miles per hour down this pretty steep hill. You got a bunch of sharp rocks out here that the truck could slip on, but it's doing quite nicely. I don't have to do anything. I'm not touching the brake or the gas, and visibility is actually better than I thought it might be over top of the front hood. This is a nice little feature here. You get on a lot of off-road pickups, but it's great to see it on the Frontier Pro 4X as well. So we're moving a little faster now. Got the truck in 4 high. This is a pretty good opportunity to fill out those Bilstein off-road dampers. I think they feel pretty good out here. It really gives the truck some nice control. They're certainly on the stiffer side, but off-road here, it's definitely a confident ride feel, I'd say. And it's a similar feeling from the steering as well. Nissan gave the Frontier a little quicker steering, 16% quicker rack. It's still a hydraulic steering rack, not an electric rack, and it's pretty good off-road here. You get a nice feel for the road, and just not a whole lot of bad feedback through the wheel either. It's damped out nicely, and the truck itself just feels nice and controlled out here. I like it at higher speeds as well. So after spending the day driving this new Frontier on-road, off-road, through the beautiful mountains of rural Utah here, I'm coming away with a pretty positive impression overall. Now, there are a lot of things to like about this truck. Its size, it's still compact, it's still a small pickup. Also, the design. It's really hard to look at this thing and say that you don't like it. From every proportion, every angle, I think it's a really, really great design from Nissan. Certainly way better than the old Frontier. The powertrain, I have my quibbles with it for sure, but it's going to be a nice, reliable, easygoing mid-size pickup. If you want more torque, the Ranger is there. As for the actual capability and towing is definitely on the poorer side of things at a 6,700 pound maximum, but you get a big back seat, you get a super usable bed, and up here, I'm super comfortable with all the modern tech amenities that I'd want. I think that Nissan did a really, really great job with the Frontier. I just hope that we don't have to wait another 17 years before we see the next one.